Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about who is telling the truth and who is lying about who was asked to return and who wasn't on Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. So, late last night as I was editing my season 3 review, I was reading stuff online and some of the former cast of the original series is coming out the woodwork and is shading the new show. Dan Benson, Dan, come on, man. You know you can't be on this show. But I get what you're saying. The show had potential and it became like the David Henry ego show. And, Jennifer Stone came out with a statement that is a video of it. Don't worry, I'm going to link stuff below to what JT Austin said, Dan said. Well, okay, maybe not Dan, because I ain't going on that man's Twitter page no more. No more. I tried to read something off his page once. I'm like, nope, I am never doing that again. But I will link the TikTok video of Jennifer because something JT Austin and something Jennifer Stone said contradicts what David Henry is now saying in an interview. And it's kind of like, who do you believe? Well, look, when it comes to Jennifer Stone, I'll believe anything that woman says because she loves to drop the tea. And anybody who can gossip that much, you know they got to be telling the truth. And so, yeah, late last night, I'm just reading stuff left and right, and whoo, David Henry is getting dragged through the mud on Twitter. It is bad. People are furious at the finale of Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. They're furious at the series altogether and everything. And it's getting dirty on Twitter. Let's just put it that way. People are bringing up his religion. They're bringing up his politics. They're saying he supports this person. People, please take politics out of this. There is no politics in Wizards of Waverly Place. All right? There is none. And don't speculate. Because of the simple fact you just don't know. And speculating can be dangerous in this time and era of politics that we are in. And, and until somebody actually say, hey, my politics is this and I support this, then you trust what they say. But don't be speculating. But yeah, there are people furious. There are people furious about Damian Penwolf being in prison for 10 years. Don't worry, I got a video on that. I don't know if I put it out today. I don't know if I put it out tomorrow. I don't know if I'll put it out Sunday. I'm trying to give people time to watch the show so I don't spoil nothing. But yeah, I got some thoughts on that. But there are people blaming David for Damian being in prison and stuff. And it's like, look, he's not the showrunner. The two showrunners from Raven's Home, they are the ones who created this show. David and Selena are executive producers. Yes, they do get to have some say as to what's going on in the show, but they don't control everything that happens in the show. But, in this interview and certain stuff people are saying now, like the former cast and everything, it now makes you start to wonder how much input did David have in this show. And when I say David, I mean David Henry. If I'm talking about the dude who played Jerry, I'll just say David D because I can't pronounce his last name. And no, D don't stand for what you think it stands for, despite him having a picture leak years ago. Anyway. So yeah, a lot of the former cast is throwing shade. Now, one thing I read on Reddit is that people want the mother who played Teresa to speak out. Please leave that woman alone. She has Camp Rock 3 to deal with, and she don't need no drama. Second, if you ever watch my channel talking about Wizards, then you know for a fact That woman keeps it neutral. She keeps her mouth shut. She never talks about how she's disappointed in nobody. She never talks about religion. She never talks about politics. Every time one of the original kid cast members screw up, she never says anything negative about them. She just leaves it alone, and she keeps talking about how she's proud of them and how she loves them. So please leave that woman alone and everything. You just want her to hop in this drama because it's pretty juicy right now. Also, there's a bunch of people on Twitter just lying off like their fingertips, acting like they have insider knowledge and know these people's lives, and with no proof and everything, talking about Selena is furious and she's done with this show and she's done with this character and all. And no, she has never said nothing like that. She has said her goodbyes to this character because it's been a journey. That is it. Stop spreading lies online. And I know what you're going to say. Well, then, if you don't believe them, why should we believe you? Because when I talk about this show and when I talk about the gossip, I have actual facts, okay? I've done my actual research. I have watched video clips, especially from that podcast from back in the day when Jennifer and David D were spilling the tea on David Henry. There are TMZ documents about JT Austin and his hit and run, David Henry and his criminal behavior in the past and everything, and wannabe criminal behavior in the past with the parking lot, or him almost getting into a fight in the parking lot with his brother, the loaded gun at the airport, what's his name, Dan Benson, drama between him, and Dan Benson said that what's his name almost got into a fight with somebody before the original show even started. Selena Gomez talking about how she loves wizards and how it really hurt her when she went to a hotel room and she was flipping through Disney Channel and there was no reruns of wizards, and so she helped create Alex versus Alex. There's an actual video clip of her saying that. So when I talk this smack, I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? I'm not some hell-bent person on Twitter just making stuff up because I hate David Henry. You know what I'm saying? But back to lies and everything. I'm reading this article he did for the show, and he's sounding very corporate and everything. Makes sense because he's an executive producer. The show just wrapped, but he's saying some stuff that contradicts what JT Austin and Jennifer Stone have said. Now, the people who are now throwing some shade towards the show, and I'm assuming 3 of the people are throwing shade because people are constantly asking them, hey, why aren't you on the show? And how come you ain't been mentioned? Now, former cast members that are throwing shade in a somewhat shady way, but not too much of a shady way, but somewhat of a shady way, is of course David D, who played Jerry, Jennifer Stone, who played Harper, Dan Benson, who played Zeke. And even though he's not throwing shade, he's at least explaining why he's not on the show, and that is of course JT Austin, who played Max and everything. But the other 3 are throwing shade, especially Jennifer. She says it so quickly, you almost miss it, but you can hear it and everything. God bless Jennifer Stone. I hope you never turn into a horrible person, and I never want to know your politics. Anyway. But seriously, Jennifer Stone is the gift that just keeps on giving, man. And so, I'll get to her story first. So, David Henry is sounding very corporate, and he probably has to. He's under contract. It's probably not up yet, and stuff like that. And he probably doesn't want to talk about the behind the scenes drama that's going to deflect from the show and the new cast. Which, by the way, people, think about the new cast. You know what I'm saying? It's like they are reading this stuff online and they're probably feeling horrible. Like, especially David D's comment talking about the show will last longer if the OGs were there. And it's like I said before, I agree and I disagree. Like, the new cast can bring it, and they did bring it. It's just the writing and the structure ruined it for them and everything. Like, the new cast could carry the show without the OGs. Yeah, it's fun to see the OGs because it's part of a bigger universe and everything. But like, they can hold their own, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's start off with Jennifer versus David. So many fans have always wondered, like, Mimi's casting, because she looks kind of similar to Jennifer in a way, the reddish hair, and let's not forget, in the first season, she had more weight, similar to that of Jennifer. Then in the next season, just like Jennifer, she lost weight. And in the third season, she really lost a lot. Anyway, so it was always a weird coincidence that Justin's wife is similar to that of Harper, you know what I'm saying? Especially how in the first season she started wearing more like dresses and skirts. But then as she lost weight, she started wearing more pants and everything. And high waisted ones at that. And so I speculated that either she just landed the role and it was a coincidence, or it was like a nod to, hey, you know, there was this girl who really liked Justin. Let's find somebody who looks similar to her, but who can actually also act. You know what I'm saying? Now he said it's pure coincidence, and they love Mimi, and then Gary Marsh came to him and be like, hey, you know, she looks like Harper, aka Jennifer, right? And David's all like, you know, yeah, she does kind of look like him. And then David says in the interview, man, we've got to make a joke about this or bring these two together in the show and stuff like that, right? Now here's that. Now here's the part where I feel like he lied and everything, because Jennifer Stone, there's a TikTok video, and hopefully it will not be taken down, and I don't think it will, because I think it's a news magazine outlet, so it won't be taken down. But she literally says that when she okay, just like everybody else, right? Her and David D found out about this show on the internet with everybody else. They weren't even told about this. And she said that, you know, she spoke to David. I'm going to assume she's talking about David Henry, talking about how she wants to be on the show. She loves the Harper character. She wants to see where Harper is in the future and everything, or present day, you know what I'm saying? And like, you know, because that character means a lot to her. Fans come up to her and talking about how they relate to her character because they're odd just like her. And she literally said that David said that, hey, look, the show is going in a different direction. We cannot fit you in. So this is when she throws the shade and she's all like, oh, you can fit me in. But then she's like, okay, whatever and everything. But then she heard that it's going to be the final season, and you know, like, she just has to come back. You know what I'm saying? Now, this contradicts what David said, because David literally said during the audition process of when they casted Mimi and everything, that they realized she looks like Jennifer Stone, aka Harper, and they have to bring these two together and make a joke about that. But as we can see, Jennifer Stone was nowhere in the series, not until the final season when the show got canceled and stuff. And it wasn't even the real Harper, it was a dream Harper. And so this completely contradicts, and I feel like he's lying because of the simple fact, if this is true and he realized these two look similar and he wanted to bring Jennifer in to make a joke about this, why didn't he bring her in? Because she literally said she asked and she was denied and everything because they went in a different direction. and they cannot fit her in. But she said literally, you can fit her in, but they didn't want to. Now keep this in mind when I say they're going in a different direction, because now here we go about Max, aka Jake T. Austin. So the interviewer asked like David about why Max never showed up, why Jake T. Austin never showed up, and was he ever asked to be on the show. Now David does admit, yeah, he was asked to be on the show, but he says that Jake is he has a lot going on in his life and he's really busy, and so because of that, he can't be on the show because he's busy and everything. And he loves him and this and that and wish nothing but the best. Here's the problem. Yesterday, Jake T. Austin, and I've said this before, dude has scrubbed his entire Instagram, because I went right back to it to see if I can read his message. But I'm like, where's his message at? Because everything's been scrubbed off his page and he follows nobody. But it's in like one of those Insta story things. And he literally says that like he tried to be on the show but never got the invite and everything. That was the original thing. He never got the invite. Then he said like, when he heard about the show, he tried to be on the show. He wanted to be on the show 100%. He would have done it and everything. But they told him, and he doesn't say who, they told him, we're going in a different direction. And so he's like, okay, cool, whatever. I wish everybody the best. I love everyone, this and that. Does that sound familiar to you? The whole we're going in a different direction and everything. And that's the same thing that David told Jennifer. But hold up. David Henry literally said that Jake is busy and he has a lot going on in his life. But Jake literally said he wanted to be on the freaking show. However, this is where it's getting more interesting and even more dicey, because somebody asked David Henry on Twitter why wasn't Max like back on the show. And he told like this person that he's gutted. They asked him multiple times to come back for the third season, but he, I guess, kept denying and their request. And they said they even wrote a return for him in the second season, but for whatever reason, he just didn't accept like their invitation. And so this is why I say when it comes to like Jake T. Austin, I don't know if I necessarily believe him fully, because I truly believe there is something weird going on with this dude after like that hit and run and everything, And even the showrunner, one of them, confirmed that yes, they asked him multiple times, but for whatever reason, he just didn't accept their offer and everything. Greg Skulkin has not revealed why Mason died on the show and whose idea was it. But here's the thing about Greg Skulkin. David and Jennifer literally said they had to kill his character off because it would have been more backlash if they didn't. Because of course him and Alex are not together. No, you could have just said they broke up. You could have just said his impulsive ways caused her to break up with him, because that's how he was on the show. I mean, fans have literally turned against Mason and everything. But here's the thing, right? I've always wondered why he never made no appearance, because of the simple fact him and David are actually extremely good friends, like really, really good friends and stuff. So yeah, this is like getting really dicey online. There's so much drama. You can tell that the old cast is salty and have a good reason why. I mean, they helped make the show what it was and they just wanted to appear. And maybe like a couple of episodes, or maybe the whole thing, like we don't know, you know what I'm saying? And with the whole, the show going in a different direction, they took a Star Trek Picard approach. If you're unfamiliar with that, Star Trek Next Generation ran for 7 seasons. It would have ran longer because it was at the it was like high ratings, right? But they canceled it because it was too popular, and they had another Star Trek series out, and the ratings were doing bad on that show, Deep Space Nine. So they had to cancel the great show and keep the mediocre one, but that later turned into a great show. And so with Star Trek Picard, they decided to spin it off with that of the captain. Patrick Stewart, who played Jean-Luc Picard, didn't want the original cast to come back. He wanted just to focus on Picard in a brand new cast. Sound familiar? And the first 2 seasons were horrible and everything. So what did they do in the third season? They brought the original cast back. Sound familiar? And so, yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I get it. Over a decade has passed. You want to see where this one character that has the spinoff is in their life and where they're at, and not focus on the past. I get that. That's what happened with Frasier. Frasier was a spinoff of Cheers, and I never watched Frasier. I think I watched Cheers, but not Frasier. And in Frasier, I don't think none of the original cast ever showed back up. It just went in a completely different direction. It worked for them. You know, they had many seasons and everything. But now we're in a time of nostalgia, and that's not going to work no more. It's not the 90s no more. When you do a spin-off with like a very popular show, the fans want to see those characters return. They don't have to be part of the main cast, but recurring would be nice, or a couple of guest spots and everything. And so, yeah. So I just wanted to make this video because I'm like, dude, how can you lie? Because when it comes to Jake T, I don't fully believe everything he says because, he doesn't really interact with fans so much. I don't know what's true or not. And like, also there's that hit and run. So I don't really trust criminals. But then here comes Jennifer and I'm like, yo, she was on that podcast. Girl ran off the mouth. And it's kind of like when you drop that much tea, you got to start believing in something. You know what I'm saying? Because why would she lie? You know what I'm saying? But in his final statements, he said he can't wait for people to watch the final season and see their reaction online. Yeah, he's gonna regret saying that. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.